What is up, guys? I know it's been a while, but welcome to today's 1 Minute Clinic. And before we get started, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want your questions answered and turned into a 1 Minute Clinic video like today, comment your question down below. Today's question comes from Jensen Wu. Can you show how to hit a one-handed backhand on open stance? Found this a good arsenal when there is no time to set. I'm going to assume you said found that this is good to have in the arsenal, but you know, language. Of course I can. And I actually use an open stance one-handed backhand pretty often. Now I will preface this by saying this is not something that I recommend for all levels because it is a very physically demanding shot and situation because usually we're going to be moving really hard. Now if you're talking about the one where you don't have time and it just comes to you and you just need to get it away from you, that's different. Now that one I recommend everybody needs to learn, but the one on the move takes a couple of little coordination things, which I'm going to cover. So let's get started with today's 1 Minute Clinic. So the most important part of the one-handed open stance backhand or any open stance shot in general is to understand why you're using it in the first place. You're using an open stance backhand for only one of two reasons. One, your time has been limited and you're not able to put your step in and get your momentum moving forward. Or two, you are trying to catch your lateral momentum because you're moving so hard that you need to brace this position. This is the more physical version of it. People with weaker knees or back problems, I don't recommend this one because there's a lot of stabilizing stuff that goes into it. Most people, when you try to do that one, you're just going to end up softening the cushion here and then just letting your other foot come through. As I said a while ago with another video I did, the one-handed backhand does not require the rotation that a two-handed backhand requires. So you can actually get away with taking your right foot for right-handed people and bringing it across because you don't need to be able to open up the same way. Now that we've got that out the way, the first step to hitting a good open stance backhand is literally putting your foot out to the side. Most people actually just fail at that first part because they're so conditioned to just put this leg over. So the first thing you're going to have to do is actually practice putting your heel down first. When you step to the side, if you put your toe down or you put your foot flat, you're incapable of absorbing the landing the same way. And what you're going to end up doing is just spilling across with the other leg. So get the feeling of actually driving your heel into the ground first, which will allow your knee to then buckle slightly and you end up in this position. Once you've done this, you end up in a loaded stance and you can choose to either stay here and release the swing or shift your weight into the stroke. The second part of the open stance backhand, which I tell people to make sure that you know because it's important, is how big of a swing are you going to be allowed to do? That goes back to the first part I was talking about where we said it's about either catching your momentum or saving time. If you don't have time to step in, you might not have time to do a full swing as well. So you're probably going to end up shortening your swing. The time it takes to put your outside foot down is going to be about all the time you have to get the racket ready. And then from there, extending your arm out. Last part of the timing and technical thing is going to be what is the goal of the ball you're trying to hit. When you use an open stance, as I've said a bunch of times, you have more access to spin because that allows you to drive your legs up. So if you're going here, you're probably not going to try to go flat and straight through. You're going to use your outside leg to come back up through the stroke and create more revolutions on the ball. So if I was just to use this ball here, as I dip down, I can pretty much spring right back up into it without shifting my weight into the court. Now I'm going to shift the camera to a different angle just so you can watch that happen a little bit. So when you're moving out to the side, as I said, you're going to have to make sure you're absorbing that landing. But the thing that's the most important with this outside foot, because it is an open stance, is you only get one step to get it right. And this is the leg that's supposed to measure out what you're doing. You get here and you only get this plant because if you don't get it right here, your next step will be too close or you won't be able to do anything with the shot. So first step, make sure that as the ball's coming, you just practice landing here where you have enough reach to take that shot. So as that ball's coming in, you land first and then you release that shot. And if you don't have time, you're going to need to get that perfect because you don't get to fix it at the end. So looking at it full speed now, it'll just be left foot out, release. Now if I want to go with some spin, it'll be down and up. If I want to just deflect the pace, it'll be hold and extend. Just pick the tactic that fits the situation, but you're not going to be doing a lot of really trying to get into this position and rip the backhand. You're not in that position in the point. If you have to go open stance, you're going to be playing more of a tactically neutral or defensive shot. rather than trying to go big. So one last shot, just moving out, full speed, 1, 2, release the shot. Now, quick side note, there is actually a risk / danger to using an open stance one-handed backhand that you don't really have with a two-handed backhand. Because of the lack of need for rotation, this outside leg is actually in danger when you're doing the one that requires you to move hard to the side. Take it from somebody who's actually done this. You can end up clipping your leg as you go for this shot. It's not common, but it can happen because with your right arm, for the right-handed people, going behind you, but then you not rotating to bring it back around and just releasing it, you can end up swinging pretty close. Let me just change my angle. You can end up swinging pretty close to this leg depending on what the shot is. So if you over or underestimate what the ball's going to do, and then you end up adjusting your swing in the middle, there is a chance of this handle or the racket head coming across, catching the knee or the shin. So be careful of that when practicing this under duress or under high levels of pressure, because you're going to end up coming in really close depending on what the ball does. So just be aware of that, because it can happen, has happened, and will continue to happen to anybody that learns this. Just be conscious of it, and it's not something that you really have to think about super hard. You just get used to understanding how to space yourself using your outside leg. But that's going to wrap it up for today's 1-minute clinic. I hope it was helpful. If you know anybody who would benefit from this, please send it off to them. And as I said, if you want your question answered and turned into a 1-minute clinic video like today, comment your questions down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video.